Wonder Woman 1984. Does it pass the trash test? Now, you may be wondering, what is the trash test? Well, it's basically how I review movies. And anything else. It's going to be basically based on three things for the movie world, which is what we're going to be focusing on today with Wonder Woman 1984. We're going to be focusing on the plot. How strong was the plot? Did it stand up on its own? If you think about it, does it kind of fall apart? Were there any holes in it? How were the characters? Did they connect well? Did they belong in the movie? Did they have motives for their actions? And finally, I'm gonna go based on my own personal opinion as I finish the movie. As I finished watching the movie, what was I feeling personally? How was my opinion of it directly after I finished watching the movie? So we're gonna start off with the plot, go to the characters, and then personal opinion. There will be a grade given for each of these categories, and there will be a final overall grade to decide whether or not it passes the trash test. Let's go. Let's start off with the plot. Now, the plot, it gets iffy here, okay? Let's just go in order here. It starts off with the opening sequence with young Diana's like 7 or 8 years old, going through this obstacle course in Themyscira and like trying to win, but like taking a shortcut, and oh no, you can't take shortcuts, because then she gets stopped from winning and learns the lesson right then and there. Like, it was cool because it definitely ties into the ending of the movie. It was cool to see that whole sequence opening, but I don't think we really need to see Amazonian Ninja Warrior for the first 10 minutes of the movie. I don't think that was really necessary. You can do it in a shorter amount of time. You don't need for it to take up the entire like opening sequence of the movie, But I guess because we do already know the character, you don't really need to spend time setting up the characters, so I guess maybe that's the kind of line of reasoning they were going for here. But anyway, fast forwards to the year 1984. So, basically, 70 years after the first Wonder Woman movie. So, yeah, and I really thought the year 1984 was going to be like, the title was going to be significant to the plot. Like, maybe we're going to have a reference to like a George Orwell storyline type of thing. But no, we just get this monkey paw storyline, and Steve Trevor, this is the dumbest reason he comes back. Wonder Woman wishes on this artifact, like this ancient artifact that grants you every wish, and she wishes Steve Trevor back. But he comes back in another man's body, which raises so many questions, like, why? Why couldn't he just appear out of thin air? The stone definitely has that type of power to just bring stuff into thin air. It brought up a wall for Maxwell Lord. I don't understand why Steve Trevor came back in some random guy's body. And the guy doesn't even have a name. He's credited as Handsome Guy. What are we doing here? Also, I really don't feel like you need Steve Trevor in a Wonder Woman movie. I mean, she could have moved on without him. Like, it's the Wonder Woman franchise. It is not the Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor franchise. We can leave Steve Trevor in the past. Now, Maxwell Lord is the bad guy of the movie, played by Pedro Pascal. And basically, he takes the artifact, wishes to become the artifact, which I guess is a thing you can do. And whenever someone touches him, he grants their wish for some reason. So I guess that's something that happened in the movie. Towards the end of the movie, once he gets like everything he wants, he starts going on through the airwaves, which I guess technically means he's touching them. I don't know. It's such a thin plot that if you just poke it, it falls apart. You know what I'm saying? But I just don't understand how he was touching these people when he was going over the airwaves, like everyone in the world making their wishes, and they were all coming true. And kind of makes you wonder, what if there are some paradoxes? What if there are some wishes that contradict each other? What happens? There's really no way of doing this plot without having some type of plot holes. So here's an idea. Maybe don't do this plot. Anywho, the ending of renouncing wishes sort of thing. Wonder Woman used the lasso of truth to make people see the truth sort of thing. And convinced everyone in the world to just renounce their wish, which first of all is very unrealistic that everyone in the world would agree to renounce their wish. Like, that's not gonna happen. And what kind of ending? I get the message. I get how it all ties into the message of the storyline with the, can't take shortcuts in life, no good thing comes easy sort of thing. But why? How was she just able to do that? How did Maxwell Lord just suddenly care about his son enough to go save him? I don't get this plot. I really don't. Overall, I think the plot, I think it's pretty bad. I don't think it's terrible. I think there are some good things that hold up about it. So overall, I'll give the plot a D+. It's not that great, but it's not that bad either. Now we can move on to the characters. and the characters are some of my favorite parts of these movies because, you know, I really like character development and how they just develop throughout the movie. It's really a nice sort of wrap up to the movie, just to see how all the characters, where they end up from where they started, sort of thing. So first, we're going to go over the main character of Wonder Woman, or Diana. Now, character development, which is something I really value in a main character, and she had some character development. She really did. I'm not going to sit here and act like she didn't. She made that wish to bring Steve Trevor back, and then had to renounce it, because apparently the Monkey's Paw sort of storyline takes away the thing you value most to grant your wish, and so to become like the Asteria golden warrior type character, she had to renounce her wish because taking shortcuts is bad. The message of the movie is. Now, connections to other characters, she has good chemistry with Steve Trevor. With Maxwell Lord, they didn't really interact much. It's much more with Cheetah that she really had her moments to like connect to other characters. I really think she played that well. Gal Gadot did an amazing job at like playing the caring, you know, because Cheetah was just before she became Cheetah, she was not really liked at all, not really well liked. So I think that's partially meant that, you know, Wonder Woman's still nice to her, and I think that those were some of the better scenes in the movie. Now, I don't think there were that much convenience in her abilities. I mean, the fact that she was just able to turn the plane invisible, I mean, I guess it makes sense in a way, but I just kind of found it weird. Also, the lasso of truth, making you see the truth, not just making you tell the truth. You know, I thought that was kind of weird. It does kind of make sense, though. I'll give it that. Also, like, when the wind stuff blocked her off from Maxwell Lord in that studio thing where he was broadcasting to everyone, how did she break through that again? Was there a scene that I missed? What happened to make her break through that when she couldn't before? I really don't know, but where did she end up? She ended up in a pretty good place. She ended up at peace with herself, you know, and, you know, hopefully this is the last Wonder Woman movie that's set in the past. I'd like to see a more concurrent Wonder Woman movie going forward, so hopefully that'll happen. Overall, I'm gonna give her character a B-. She had a pretty good character throughout the movie, you know. She had some good moments when she needed them, but it didn't really flow all that well together, but it was still. Next up, we have Steve Trevor, who's sort of the second main character of the movie. And of course we gotta have Chris Pine in the movie, because why wouldn't we? Does the character make sense? My heart wants to tell me no. No, this character does not make sense. But I mean, for the story purposes, I guess he kind of makes sense, you know? Wonder Woman had to wish for something that was a selfish wish, I guess, in some aspect of the imagination, but connections to other characters, it was mostly just Wonder Woman. That's basically it. And I think that's probably where he loses points for me, is he didn't really interact with many other people. I mean, it's not like he really could. He was in another man's body, which is another point we gotta get to. He was in another man's body. Where did the other guy's consciousness go? While Steve Trevor's consciousness was transported into this guy, where did the other guy's consciousness go? I am very confused on that part. Also, did this guy just not have a life to where Steve Trevor was able to take him over for like a good however long this movie lasted? You know, it was just really weird how they did that storyline. They could have just made him appear out of thin air like they did with that wall with Maxwell Lord, but they just didn't for some reason, and they made his consciousness appear in someone else, which I really don't think was the right choice. But, you know, what are you going to do? Where did he end up? Well, as we said before, Wonder Woman renounced her wish, and Steve Trevor went back to the dead, I guess, and the other guy came back from the dead. It is so confusing. So, yeah, that's basically how it happens, and the other guy shared a cute, flirty moment with Wonder Woman, I guess, at the end of the movie. You know, she stares at a balloon, and the other guy says, "Oh, it's Christmas." Which I got. Why was it Christmas? I know the movie came out on Christmas, but I found that was kind of weird, you know? It didn't need to be Christmas. Overall, I'd give his character a C+ on the nice scale. As much as I just ragged on his character, he did have some fun moments. And you know, the one thing I did like about his character is that they didn't spend too much time on the fish out of water storyline where like, oh, he's from the 1910s and he comes back to the 1980s. What's he gonna say about the new times, you know? I like how they didn't go overboard with that. They definitely didn't overuse him, which is another thing I really liked. So overall, C+ for me. Moving on to Max Lord, the villain of the movie. And do his motives make sense? This is something I always look for in a villain. Do the motives make sense? What is his point of view? Why is he doing the things he's doing? And so he's a sort of a failed businessman who's like really on a downturn. He's not really having much luck lately. And so he resorts to taking the artifact and wishing that he is the artifact. I don't... Why? That's a weird thing to wish for, but okay. Okay. So, the connections to other characters here, he does have a decent amount of connections to other characters. We are shown through other characters that he is a fairly charismatic guy. He is persuasive. He can be a good persuader to many people. The whole thing with like his investors pulling out, that wasn't necessarily great for his charisma, but you know, it makes sense. He's the villain of the movie. You gotta show him being the villain. So, and that sort of leads into Pedro Pascal's amazing acting. You know, if Pedro Pascal's in something, I'm probably gonna watch it. You know, he's such a good actor. He's probably one of my favorite actors right now. So I'm glad he was in this movie. That's one of my favorite parts of the movie, is that he was in it. Also, where did he end up? Well, he suddenly cared about his son and went to go save him after renouncing his wish. Which I guess after he renounced his wish, Wonder Woman was able to make everyone else renounce their wish, which again is such a weird ending. It's such a weird ending. And yeah, he ended up making peace with his son, you know, all happy ending for the bad guy. Overall, I give his grade B-, mostly just because of Pedro Pascal. That's probably mostly why I'm giving it a B-. Moving on to the Cheetah, or Dr. Barbara Ann Minerva. Now, does she belong in this movie? She's sort of a secondary bad guy, and I always question with secondary bad guys, do they belong? I think to show the downsides of making a wish, I think she does belong, which is a weird direction to take her character in, but I kind of like it, especially like the whole cliche of the nerdy girl with the glasses suddenly turns into the strong, attractive girl without glasses sort of thing, which it kind of makes sense for the 80s period that this movie is set in. That's probably the only thing relating to the 80s in this movie. It could have been any year. It really could have been any year. But anyway, connections to other characters, mostly Wonder Woman. Mostly Wonder Woman. She did have a lot of good things going with Maxwell Lord, you know. Maxwell Lord kind of... She really wanted to keep him and his wish around just so she didn't have to renounce her wish. And I do find it a little weird that her wish suddenly became like the most important thing that she doesn't want to lose, which I guess kind of makes sense because she always wanted to be like Diana, you know, someone who can like stand up to people, be cool and all that stuff. But where did she end up? Where did her character bring her? So Diana holds her underwater in the climax of the movie, and cables come down and electrocute her. So you would think she dies. But no, she's just unconscious for a little while, which if you wanted her to be unconscious for a while, have her hit her head or something. Don't electrocute her underwater. She would have died. Anyway, she doesn't die. She renounces her wish, I guess. Because she was, out of everyone to renounce her wish, she was the most stubborn about it. And she finally renounced her wish, so... that was an interesting thing to see, I guess. But character development-wise, I guess she had to make peace with being the nerd, I guess. I don't know. This movie's weird, man. Overall grade is going to be a B-, though. Honestly, out of all the things I've said about some parts of her character not making sense, that's only some parts. I think her and Pedro Pascal's character, Maxwell Lord, I think her and Maxwell Lord would definitely be probably my favorites. I like the bad guys better than the good guys in this movie. Barely, though. But yeah, B-. Not really that many flaws, but she's not the greatest character I've ever seen. She does have some flaws, so that's really what's keeping her at a B-. For the overall character grade, I am giving a B-. I know Steve Trevor was a C+, but I decided to just round it off to a clean B-. I think the characters are really where this movie shined. I think the characters probably were the good part about this movie, if you can believe such a thing exists. Anywho, let's move on to my personal opinion. Now, I was unsatisfied, okay? I'm just gonna say it now. Overall grade's a D. I was unsatisfied. It seems like I was missing something, and it's frustrating because all the things were there to make a good movie. This could have been a good movie. This could have been a great movie. It had all the pieces, and they just didn't connect at all. I really liked Pedro Pascal's acting, as I've mentioned before. I'm glad he was in this movie. I just can't stand the fact that this movie had so much potential to be good, and they turned it into this. Like, with a little bit of retooling, a little bit of rekindling, it could have been a good movie. It could have been a great movie. But I just don't like it. I just didn't like it. That's just the feeling I left with. I just didn't like it. One thing I really did like, though, is the after credits scene with Linda Carter as Asteria. That was a really good moment. That was a really surprising moment. Linda Carter coming back into the Wonder Woman franchise. But yeah, overall grade, a D. Now, the final grade is going to be a C-. And this is something I'll get into with later movie reviews, but if something gets over the C range, above the C range in a movie review, it's automatically passing the trash test. But if it gets below a C range, it's automatically failing the trash test. If it's in the C range, then it's up for a little bit more debate. I look into it further if it's in the C range, and this one just so happens to be in the C range. The final grade is a C-. And I really thought about this. Does it pass the trash test? Do I want to give it a pass? Do I want to not give it a pass? And this is the conclusion I came up with. Does it pass the trash test? My answer is simply no. No, it doesn't. It doesn't pass the trash test. For personal opinion, from the holes in the plot to, some of the character moments here and there, just really didn't connect well. I didn't finish the movie feeling like it was a good movie. I finished the movie feeling like I just watched something that I really didn't want to watch. And also something I noticed is, like, I kept checking the time to see if the movie was over, which is not a good sign for the trash test. I really hope I can get to reviewing better movies in the future. That's all I'm going to say. So, yeah, I'll have more videos up on this channel in the future. Maybe more movie reviews, maybe more movie reviews of good movies. And, I'll see you later.